Hey all, Wilkie here. Welcome to Wilkie's World Wanderings. We have a special guest with us. It's here today, David Trotter, author of the incredible book Legend of Neverwhere. Yes, I know it's in reverse, so but it's but it's right on another screen, so we're okay. So, um, so David, the audience here, of course, wants to know who what's your book about? I mean, I know what it's about.
Oh.
Um, but so
Yeah, no, I can
tell.
jump in here. So the Legend of Neverwhere series, it is my brainchild. It answers the question: what if Percy Jackson and The Legend of Zelda got together, wrote a story, and then put it into a dungeon crawler world? And that's really what it is. It starts out with two teens that are both trying to figure their self out in very two different situations. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but Archie's dad goes missing for reasons, and Archie and his friend Georgia end up going after, falling through a cave, and ending up in this magical world of Neverwhere, which is extremely inspired by The Legend of Zelda. I don't hide away from that at all. I lean into it a little heavier sometimes than in others, but it's everything I loved about the awe and the spectacle of fantasy of when I was younger. It is some of the things are a little on the nose, some of it's a little bit campy, but it's all very intentional, and it's a book where you can kind of just jump into and just kind of fall in love with fantasy again.
I can appreciate that. I mean, as I read it, that like the fact that I have the special edition and I've read it, it just makes me joy. I mean, David, you probably don't know this, but that you've been a author that I've followed for a very long time, and I love your books. Like Last Son of the Feromage, big plug for that. Like, if y'all haven't had the chance to read that, you really need to as well. He's amazing. Um, so to begin in with it all, so because I know about the Last Son of the Pharaoh Mage,
Hmm.
you did that as a traditional fantasy, and you've done all the work. You're self-published.
Hmm.
You put in all the work. So why make the transition over to lit RPG?
So that's a fantastic question. Uh, I love traditional fantasy. I think it is really really cool. I've been reading fantasy since I was a kid. I have thoroughly enjoyed writing the Last Son of the Feromage Saga. It's not all the way done yet. Big shout out to that one though. It did win me my first award this year, so that was pretty cool. Well, technically it was at the very end of last year, but so it has a deep place in my heart. um, but it's heavy and it's big, and there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
nuance and a lot of world building and a lot of character development. I think, I have like, I want to say I have 18 unique POVs in the last son of the Feromage saga. With I don't even know how many anymore. Last I counted, it's like 137 unique names. Right, like that's a lot.
Yeah,
And um,
absolutely.
Legend of Neverwhere was like, well, first off, I have four kids, and my son is
Yes.
9. He's about to turn 10, and not that there's anything wrong or too. There's some darker, heavier moments in the last one of the Feromage saga, but it's definitely not made for a younger audience. And I wanted something that,
Uh-huh.
as my son got older, he could read and appreciate it. Right now, his mom is reading Percy Jackson with him, reading, Harry Potter with him, getting him kind of into those like childhood books that we all kind of grew up on, and just
Uh-huh.
introducing him to the world of fantasy. And I was like, I wanted a book where he could pick it up and read it and enjoy it. But I also wanted this same story to be extremely accessible to a younger audience, for an older audience to just be, you know, dip double into the nostalgia. Like throwing
Uh-huh.
all the way back. There's jokes. He makes digs at Blink 182. It's like there's all these kids, like just a lot of these fun little things that I tie into people who kind of grew up in my generation, who grew up playing Nintendo 64 and playing out
Mhm.
before the street lights went on, and just kind of like tying it in to like a younger generation with like what is it like being kind of going between the two. So it was a lot
Oh,
of fun.
absolutely. Absolutely. So you say that this is a no, I will never say that because that would be rude. But this is inspired by A Legend of Zelda. And
Yes.
mind you, as I got into the book, there was one part of the book that I'm not telling anybody because that would be spoilers,
Hmm.
but we see some pots get
Ah, yes.
broken.
Yes.
So was that a nod to
Oh, it
A
was for
Legend of
sure a
Zelda?
nod. Oh, for sure a nod. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely having like gems in the pots. I did subvert it a little bit, and I won't say too much about it, but there's definitely some nods. I think the first time you meet Brigandforth, the big giant pelican bird, which also he in and of himself is a nod to a certain character from Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
one of the first things what he says is, it's dangerous to go alone. One of the most famous Zelda
Mhm.
lines of all time. I change it, tweak it just a
Absolutely.
little bit, but like I said, there's just like you can read these books and just like, oh, I know that one. Oh, I know that one. I'm like, oh, I got it. So.
I can appreciate that. So so we've gone into this and asked the question of lit RPG. Um so you we of course have said that we talked about fantasy. So
Hmm.
was it because you fell in love with lit RPG that you decided that was what was needed and for you in this story, or was it inspiration from other authors or is in this genre?
Oh, that is a really good question. So,
Sorry.
um, no, it's a great question. It's just there's layers, right? It's like an onion.
Oh, absolutely.
I have loved progression fantasy since I found Will White with Cradle. I
Hmm.
mean, for a lot of people, that was their intro. Listening to Travis Baldier never narrate Cradle is like key memories. Like that is like core
Yes,
memories, like unlocked.
absolutely.
I'm listening to Thousand Lee by author Tao Wong. Uh, Amazing, also done by Travis Baldry though, and so like I keep expecting to hear like Lyndon's name pop up, and again, Tao Wong does an amazing job. He's an excellent author. It's very different, but it is cool to see that. But I started with progression fantasy, and I really wanted to write a progression style fantasy, but I was like, well, if I've got video games, I had this vision of like every time Archie would beat an enemy, it would turn into like the pixelated dust, and then and I just saw these like little XP bubbles pop up, and like, oh, how do I get that into a book where it doesn't sound silly? And I was like, you know what? I think I can just
Hmm.
do it. And it was around that time
Hey, Paula.
that I ran into my first true lit RPG. My brother-in-law, he's really big into lit RPGs. He introduced me to a couple of them, and I was like, this is the perfect format for this idea that I have. And I just went wild with it. I just had a great time. And it lends so well, like the 1-to-1 ratio for like video game and like lit RPG, because I am, and again, if you're expecting it to be Legend of Zelda, you're going to be upset. It's not Legend of Zelda. There's
Yeah,
no
it's
Hyrule.
it's
There's no
not
Hyrule
Legend of Zelda.
Castle. It harkens back to a lot of those themes, but just like to be able to have like him failing because he isn't technically strong enough to do something, or isn't technically fast enough, or isn't, and then
Hmm.
to be able to like grow statistically speaking is just a ton of fun, and it really ties into that video game feel.
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say, no matter what, eh, I love both your characters. Like
Hmm.
Archie, he makes me happy, but
Hmm.
oh gosh, give me a second because I'm
Georgia.
terrible with names. Yes, thank you. Georgia. makes me so happy. Like their dynamic that they meet.
Hmm.
I will give away a few spoilers because
Nothing in
you
the first
got
three
a
chapters is
little bit.
spoilery.
No,
Nothing in the yeah. You can talk
exactly.
openly about the first three chapters. That's all just set up.
Exactly. So just to give listeners, here's a chance to know a little bit more about this series. Archie has an incredible father that is an archaeologist. He has a mother that they both are absolutely loving of their child. He's a little bit different from them. Um,
We call it
and nothing wrong with
neurospicy.
that. Exactly. Very much neurospicy. A good kid, but a little bit different than mom or dad, and that's okay. Um, but his dad gets into a situation where he kind of lost his job and he's looking for other jobs, which as an archaeologist, you never know where you're going to go. But it ends up taking him to Arkansas to this very unique dig that his dad is entirely excited about. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm sure I'll find out in book two. Um, but there's very much this sense of 16-year-old kid not wanting to move, doesn't want to leave, and a little bit of a spoiled child because he's always had everything that he could want, and now he's not getting his weekly allowance. He's not getting what he normally would expect, and you're taking him to a whole new place, a whole new school, and the first person that he meets besides the principal and that and his teacher is Georgia. And Georgia treats him with such respect. And you can tell from the start, right, there's not necessarily a love affair, but there is definitely a connection between them two, between the two of them, that made me absolutely fall in love with Georgia because she sees him with all difficult parts. And so I have to say, Georgia, it makes me happy. But also
Well,
to see her as they go on, wanting to be more than she is. That that intrigues me.
well, I get. Well,
Was
you'll be excited to know that Georgia has her own POV chapters in book two. So we get Georgia specific
oh
POV chapters because her character is very much her own character. And that was something I
yes,
really
absolutely.
it's something I really wanted from the very beginning is like she is not a reward or a prize. She is her own character. She is her own person. She is going to have her own goals and aspirations. And no spoilers, they may not always line up exactly with what Archie's goals are as we go into book two. So a
That's
little bit of
completely
fun.
understandable. So so piling on to that question, I know I did a roundabout on it, but was there inspiration from people of your past that gave you Georgia?
You know,
Because we know
that's
that Archie's a little bit uh, like you.
yeah. So well, Archie's a lot taller than me. I'm like 5'9", and Archie's like 6'2". And again, I wanted to
Yeah,
subvert a couple of the tropes, but
just a little
but that's not wish fulfillment. I'm totally fine where I'm at in my height. But so Georgia is the best friend that somebody needed in high school, and she is not, again, she doesn't look anything like my wife is. My wife and I, we had known each other for a long time, but we got together my junior year of high school. We didn't get married my junior year of high school. I know it's Arkansas, um, but but you know, we got together my junior year of high school whenever I was going through some changes and struggles, and you know, she was just that rock and solid place for me, and
hmm
I really wanted Georgia to again be her own person, but also be that solid person for Archie, but also providing a very different perspective on every part of their journey, every part of their friendship.
Oh,
Archie
absolutely.
Archie, again, like you said, was very well off. George's backstory is a little bit more tragic, a little bit more sad. Um,
It is.
she copes with everything, very differently than Archie does. And, as they experience the world of Neverwhere, they have very different, ideas about like how long they want to be there, what they want to accomplish, like what the goals are, like for her it's her first time to be like her own person, and for Archie he has very emotionally motivated, driven reasons to go.
Oh,
um
absolutely.
but yeah, but I would say so loosely, Georgia is loosely based off of my wife for some things, and then Archie is loosely based off of me. It's not a one for one in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying I insert myself into the story too well, but like being somebody who grew up with ADHD in the '90s, uh, being dyslexic, and I was very careful with that, and I love Percy Jackson, don't get me wrong, but his dyslexia, oh, it's his superpowers because he's no, I mean Archie's just dyslexic, it's a struggle that he has to learn to overcome. His ADHD doesn't give him superpowers on the other side. He still loses focus and he messes up, or he gets really hung up on little things, which may make it really easy to solve certain puzzles, but may make it really challenging to have conversations with certain people. So,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we all go through that. Like, I think that those that have the chance to read this, and I highly suggest with every fiber of my being read this. We all will see a little bit of ourselves in Georgia and Archie. Like there is something very unique about both characters that just makes you want to like them and also want to hate them. Like in the in the start, I was so much like this is such a spoiled child, and it almost made me be like I'm not going to read this, but then I'm like no, I have to read this because it is too good not to be read.
well,
um
I appreciate that. He definitely gets taken down a peg or two, once or twice or 50 times.
just a little bit, and that's okay. Like there's beauty into to seeing from a different perspective, um especially eh, with Georgia being not as well off and whatever else. It opens Archie's eyes that maybe he is a little bit more of a spoiled one compared to her. Um, and and there's a lot of other things I don't want to spoil,
Hmm.
y'all. Oh, this book is too good to spoil with popcorn, and like there's just something wrong with giving away details. So on that same point, we'll shift. Um, we know that you began writing in Last Son of the Feromage.
Hmm.
Did you always want to be a writer, or was this something that came about after you got your degree?
So that's a really good question, and I've told this story before, but I think I think anybody who's wanting to write, I think this is a good story for anybody who's ever had the itch.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a young man, I was about 12 or 13 years old. I had this really, really cool idea for a book, and I still have it. It's in my garage in a lockbox. It's three completed handwritten books, with language, with maps, with magic systems spelled out. It's got pronunciation guides. It's a whole completed story, and it tells the story about this farm boy who, and stop me whenever where it starts to sound a little too familiar, who is out in the woods. He finds a dragon egg. He touches it. It burns his hand. That burn mark gives him the power of dragons. He then goes off to an elven place to train with these elves, where he has to fight against a dark lord and teaming up with dwarves. I'm a big dwarf guy. I don't know if you can see, but I've got Gimli's axe right back there. And he ends up fighting in this kind of like a revolutionary style war,
Mm-hmm.
to clear the world, right? and I had just about I had finished it, and I was talking to all my friends. I was talking to my mom about it, and I remember when this blue book came out about a month or two later, and it hit the shelves. And this book was called Aragon, and I mean, it was so eerily similar.
Mm-hmm.
And my character, his hidden name was Dragon because I was a play on dragons, right? And
Yeah.
Aragon is a clear play on dragons,
Dragons.
and I was like, the it was so close, and I was so emotionally because I'd worked on this for so long, and I
Yeah,
was
of
so
course.
emotionally just wrecked because I was like, oh my gosh, there's another book just like what I wrote. I'll never do anything with this. This is so embarrassing, and I put it away. And I want you to like take 13 seconds and think of every Dragon Rider book you can right now. And you can't. There's a bazillion D7 of them, right? And so
There's
I
too
say
many.
that
Yep.
I say that to say your idea doesn't necessarily have to be unique. Your take
Mm-hmm.
needs to be unique. Like the
Oh,
greater arc of
absolutely.
the story may be very similar to something else that's been out there. They say every story that's been told that will ever be told has been told, but not every character that's been born has been born. You know what I mean?
It's
And so
true.
like your characters can be unique and different. The way they experience the world can be unique and different because the way you experience the world is unique and different than the way I experience the world. So the things that I may put emphasis on, you may not, or you may find that the things that I put emphasis on speak to you in a way that no other book has ever spoke to you before, and you may feel heard or seen for the first time. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to just write this story. And so that's a really long-winded answer to say yes. I've always wanted to write, but I did put it away for an exceptionally long time. I went on to go to college. I got a degree, has nothing to do with writing, business management. I work in sales. I'm a corporate salesperson. I've been doing that for almost 10 years at my current company and about 3 years before that at another one. And it's a hard job. It's not a very it's a monetary rewarding job, but it's not like an emotionally rewarding job. And I started writing again, I guess in 2019, 18, right before COVID, um, as an outlet, and then COVID struck, and I just went all in. I just went all in on the writing, and I never really looked back.
Excellent. I mean, fans know this. It's about me too. Like, I've, I, I kind of went at the same point as you, David.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my first book I wrote when I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not a Dragon Rider
No.
or series, but it was all about this young man who, mind you, I had found D&D at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not start playing, but I had read the monster manual, and I was just looking through it, and I happened upon this incredible monster that I fell in love with, and I'm like, I could totally use this as a villain. And then suddenly it went from there, and I wrote
Mm-hmm.
this whole book, loved it, and then I did what most authors do when they're writing the first book. I over edited that book. And I think from the age of 16, I had it written by the time I was 18. And then by the time I actually sent it to a publisher, I was 22.
Oh
And the
wow.
publisher sent it back to me saying, "This is absolute crap."
Boy, a good old knife to the heart. Just oh.
Yeah, just terrible. And so it ended up sitting in a drawer for like probably about 10 years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards, I picked it back up, read the notes that the publisher had told me, because they actually did give me notes and
Feedback.
said this
That's awesome.
this could
Hey,
be
that means you
good.
did better. That means you did better than most, right? Like, so don't
Yeah,
don't beat yourself up too hard. Because if you actually got notes
no,
back and not just like a okay, bye. You didn't.
yeah, no. They had sent me, this could be good, but right now it's absolute crap. I don't know what you did to this, but there are parts of it that have potential. Um, so I went back and I took the notes and I cut like half of it out
Mm-hmm.
and rewrote and then did the smart thing. I did not over edit.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it to a couple friends that I trusted and everything else. Mind you, this isn't about me, um
Well, that's totally fine.
but I gave it to a couple of friends. They were like, "Okay, we really like all these parts. This part I think you could do without." And so I went from there and I finally got myself a developmental editor and he said to me, "This is really good. This is
Mm-hmm.
actually really good. There are parts that you still need to correct, but this is really good compared to what you originally had. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have touched this originally." um, and now it sits in what I call my treasure chest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I have yet to publish it
Oh, come on,
because
you can do it. Just do it.
oh, I know that it's not that I know oh I can't do it. I can do it. It's that I'm terrified of what people are going to who do to it if I publish, and that's been my baby. And
Yeah.
mind you, I didn't write it to have it published. I mean, I would love to
I
publish
didn't.
it.
I didn't do that with Birthrights either. I had no intention of ever it being anything more than just. I wanted to say that I'd written a book, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife for my 30th, 28th, 9th. It was one of them birthdays, right around
Yeah.
30. She had went around to her family, my family, a couple of close friends, and she gathered up enough money to pay for an editor. And she was just like, "Hey, for your birthday," and I remember I was in Colorado. I was at my brother's house, and for my birthday, I got a letter and opened it up and I read it, and they were like, "Hey, this is from all of us to you, and go get your book done." And
Hmm.
it was a check to go do that thing. And I don't know if she regrets that decision right now or loves it. She's definitely come to me with a lot of cons and a lot of events, but she's also heard me tell the exact same story 900 times and change book maps and placing, and she just gets sick to her stomach, I think, sometimes. But it was never supposed to be a thing, but the fact that like you know that I can hold this, that it's here, that it
Hmm.
exists, that it's real, um,
Yeah.
and like, and the quality, like it's crazy how good quality books can be now. Because I remember when I was a lot
Oh yeah.
younger,
Oh
there
my
were, I mean,
gosh.
there's been self published books for such a long time. I mean, ever since
Yeah.
books, like all first books were self published, right? And then,
Yeah.
but self publishing in the modern aspect has been around for a while, and just like
Hmm.
to be able to pick up, there's so many books I own that are on my shelves that you would think, it was like an ancient, Harvard graduate thing. It's like, no, that's just Jim. You know, he has a couple followers online that really liked him, and they helped with his Kickstarter, and now he's got this quality book. You know.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, for me, like, it's going to get done. I
Yeah.
absolutely promise. Like, will do it. But when I wrote this because the story was in my head and it was something that I needed to get out. I needed to get it into or onto paper. I needed to get it out of my head and turn it into what I could do. Now, mind you, I'm writing another series, but we won't go into that. This one is specifically a lit RPG series, but
Ooh,
like I said, we're focusing on you, David. Um,
that's all right.
so when it comes to that, obviously we've talked about inspiration. We've talked about a lot of things. Who was some of your inspiration that has gotten you to this point?
So there's a couple different ways we can look at this, because and I feel like I have a sneeze coming on, but I don't know. So we'll see. So if I accidentally just, I'm sorry.
I understand, and don't worry, Scuba Steve. I'm definitely going to be getting to your question and very soon.
Yeah, so I would say from like a traditional, I mean, hands down, Papa Tolkien, right? You gotta throw out the big dog,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yes.
Um, also C.S. Lewis. I mean, it's a portal fantasy, and he has one of the most famous Chronicles of Narnia is about as popular of a portal fantasy as there's
Yes.
ever been. Um,
Exactly.
for writing in general, though, like I like a lot of really modern uh, writers, and I have to say, like inspirationally, I mean, you got to give it to like Matt Denneman, right? Who uh, and I wouldn't say he technically inspired me because I'd already written all of Legend, like. I had been reading his stuff, but he hadn't blown up yet. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was reading him, He Who Fights with Monsters. I was reading uh, the Primal Hunter series,
Yep.
Bastion. I could go down a list of the ones again. Like I
Yeah.
said, Cradle
Trust
was
me,
huge.
they're all behind me on
Yeah,
my shelf.
and those are huge ones. Like those are the big name ones. But then there's a lot of other ones that that I really have loved and gotten into when it comes to like lit RPG and indie work. But you know, there's some humans authors that are today that I know that are probably I got to give them most like a credit to. Like first and foremost, like I can't do one of these without shouting out Rob Zangari.
Mm-hmm.
He
Oh,
found me.
absolutely.
He
Oh,
found me.
absolutely.
He found me. He found my first Kickstarter I did. I had 22 backers. He was one of those backers. I don't know how he found me, but he reached
I
out
was
after
one,
that.
but that's another story.
Yes, well, I was going to get to that. I
Yes,
remember
yes,
you.
you're fine. Like I said,
Yeah,
yes.
you've been there, and you said you didn't know if you knew, but I knew from the very beginning. I've signed every one of those books. I know, um, but
Yes, but that's another story.
Rob found me, and introduced me to a bunch of other indie fantasy authors, and he
Mm-hmm.
introduced me to IFA, which is Indie Fantasy Addicts, which is a Facebook group, which
Yep.
I was brand new, wide-eyed and bushy tails, and then this year, well, at the end of last year, I took on a role as like one of the executive admins on that team, replacing Andy Peliquin. Which how do you replace Andy Peliquin, right? Like
I know.
like
God,
Darkblade,
how is that possible?
talk
Yeah.
about huge shoes, and he actually is tall. So like, how's that fair, right? Like he's tall, good looking, a power lifter, and he writes. It's like, oh, Lee, man, pick a lane, but so Rachel Renner, M.H. Woodscourt, Liz
Yeah.
Delton. I talk to J.A. Andrews all the time, and she's like, she was on stage with Christopher Paolini.
Mm-hmm.
She's in an anthology with Matt Denneman and Brandon Sanderson and R.A. Salvatore. These are people that I talk to about like, oh, my kid crapped on her diaper and now I got to go take care of that. And then, but like they're all doing these big things, and I feel like they're way up here and I'm way down here. But like what we have to remember on this journey is while they are way up here and I am way down here, I used to be way, way down there. You know what I mean? Like, and it's incredible just how like welcoming and open and helpful the author community is.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's some lemons. Don't get me wrong.
Yes. Yes, there
There's
will
some
always be
absolute
lemons.
lemon, but like Aaron Hall, Caveman Cooking. I know if you know anything about books, Legend of right? Like,
Yes.
what a great dude. Just like a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side of that, you have Maurice Afric, who came up out of nowhere and just became a
Oh my
sensation.
gosh. Yes,
And
absolutely.
I and Cello's Gate is at my office, or else I'd pick it up and show y'all. Currently, it's my
Yeah.
current read right now. And it's just so fun. And then probably one of the biggest things that I've got to be a part of, and I got to shout my boy out, but Jackson Charlton. He's somebody that I knew. I was a youth leader for him years ago, and then he said, hey, I'm going to write a book, and he reached out, and then like he's now got two published and continuing on. It's just it's so cool how this journey has taken me from a nobody to almost a nobody, but kind of a little bit of a somebody. But I get to roll with some big dogs. So
Absolutely. I mean, so I have to go back to Scuba Steve's question.
okay.
So he talked about planning on and writing a nonfiction. He wanted to know what what is the publishing process compared to fantasy publishing. I mean, you indie publish, so
Yeah, well, I was about to say there's two ways, to publish, right? There's traditionally published, and then there's indie, and we say indie, and you can roll in like indie press and self publish kind of into one thing, and then there's
hmm
traditional publishing, and that's kind of the divide. So like I've been independently published in a small press, and then I've self published. Most of my stuff is self published, right? I've not done any traditional publishing, so it depends on what you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to traditionally publish, I mean, the first and foremost, you got to write the darn thing, right? Like
yes,
that's
absolutely,
the same whether you're self-published or traditionally published. The difference is if you're going the traditional route, you have to like get a query letter together and start querying agents that are agents of similar type stories to what you're writing. That is so much easier said than done because it requires a lot of research. It requires authors to do the one thing that they don't like to do, and that's to admit that their work is kind of like something else. Because if you ask any author, you're like, "Oh, what's your
yeah,
work like?" They're like, "Well, it's totally different than anything you've ever read." It's like, I get what you're saying, but it's probably not. I could probably go down a list of like 57 things that it's alike. But like, and then you find and you position there. Now, if you're self-publishing this non-fantasy or this non-fiction work, then you would write the thing, and then you would find an editor in your genre. Now, if you
hmm
don't have the financial means, then you try to find ARC and beta readers in your genre to help provide some feedback to help clean it up. And then you go about finding a cover artist if you'd like. There are tools depending on how much you want to spend and what you're able to do. And that's one thing that I've never shied away from. Now, I am by no means rich. I just want to start with that. I am not wealthy. I
yes,
have 4 kids.
yes,
I live in small town Arkansas, but I do have a little bit more than some. So, like, I do have privilege in that, and I will openly acknowledge that I do have a level of privilege there. And again, so like I was able to pay, and again, like I said, my wife gathered up like $600 to help me cover my first editor, and she gave me a heck of a deal because it was the first book, and she loved my
hmm
story, and kind of how it worked. And then I found a local guy that I went to college with that did my first cover design. I won't go into the exact amounts, but I was his first book, and he was my first artist, so we helped each other out a lot. And since then, he's done
hmm
several books, and his name's out there with every one of my books. His name's out there with Jackson's books and several other people. So his artwork is now, and it should be, as it should be, a lot more expensive than
absolutely,
when I first started. Like what I pay him today for art now is a whole lot different than what I paid him when I started for artwork. Just like what I charge for one of
I
my
would
books
hope so.
now is a lot different than when I first
Yes,
started. Um,
I would hope so.
so so yeah, I would say, and then you just get your ISBNs if you want, either free through Amazon if you're going Amazon only, or going wide, which is you go to like Ingram Spark and you buy an ISB and put it out there, and you can go wide. So those are kind of the two different ways you can do that. There are extremely successful Kickstarters for every genre of writing. I would say if you want to do a crowdsourcing, the number one thing you should do if you're wanting to crowdsource, which I know this may be a question you may come up with in a little bit, so if I'm jumping, I'm sorry, is research other books in your genre and back them so that way you can see what it's like on the rewardy end. Like what feels good, what feels bad, what communication is too much, what's not frequent enough, what is okay, what is not okay. Check your own pricing, um, and then put it against your peers. If you got and understand you're not going to be able to price your things the same as a big name, but also don't be afraid to, if it's something of value, to put a price tag on it. Like the book that I'm selling right now, if Matt Denneman put it out, he could sell it for $200, like the exact same quality book, right? Like if we're talking from like covered, like if he was to take a leather bound book of Dungeon Crawler Carl like this and offer it for $200, he would probably sell 300 to 500 of them in the first day. And I'm not mad about that, right?
No,
I obviously am
absolutely.
not Matt Denneman. So I had to say, hey, well, this is the cost to create, this is the cost to ship it to me, and this is the cost to get the materials to ship it to them. And then also I got to factor in my art, my editing, my cover design, my formatting, and
Oh
and
yes.
then
Oh
and then make a
gosh.
dollar. And then I split that across the books that I order. And I have to. That's the other thing is if you're going to do
hmm
something like that, I got a minimum order quantity of 100. So it's like you got to do that.
Yep, it's true. Um, so something that I really enjoyed, and this is going back a little bit to the heart of it.
Hmm.
One of the first things that I read was your dedication. Um, to my children who inspire this adventure I call life. So obviously, they're a big inspiration to you. Um, how much of your experience with your children has been brought into this book?
That's an excellent question. I again when we want to talk about privilege, let's put money off to the side for a second. I grew up
Yes,
extremely
absolutely.
poor.
Hmm.
But I had more privilege than I think any wealthy person in the world would have, in that I had a mom and a dad that loved each other and loved me.
Hmm.
And I know, listen, especially in the authoring community, that is not something you hear very often.
No, that's not
so
an easy
so
thing.
I, so I'm going to come out here and say I am so privileged to have that in my life, and I'm so privileged to be able to be a part of my children's life. When my daughter was born, my fourth kid, when she was born, I was able to take off 3 whole months from work to be able to spend the first 3 months of her life being a part of that. When my son was born, we scheduled his birthday on a weekend, and I was back at work on that Monday. So like a huge difference from where I started. But again, 10 years. Hopefully, you move up and things happen. But it's my kids mean the world to me, and they're just such a huge
Hmm.
part of my life. And every happiness, every moment of success, every like drive that I put into that, like I see my kids in those things. But I will 100% say, you forget how and I'll use the word ignorant you were when you were a kid. So some of Archie and
Hmm.
George's, and even Darius, if you want to go back to the Feromage Saga, his decisions
Yep.
are made because he's a human. And humans
Hmm.
make dumb decisions. And I remember reading a book and be like, why would the main character do that when the answer's so obvious? It's like because they're human making human decisions. And sometimes we make a really bad decision. Hindsight's 2020, right? Like I would have been buying Apple stock way back in the day,
Oh yeah.
if I had it, if I would have had money. But you know what I'm saying? Like hindsight's always 2020, and
Well, absolutely.
and so yeah, I definitely roll in, and especially when it comes to like Archie's desire to get back to his mom and dad. Um, there was a time in my life where I lived away from my family. Nothing bad, nothing negative, but I lived away. But I had a desire to be back around them, and I wanted to get
Of
back to
course.
family. And so, I
Hmm.
really wanted that to be a theme in this book. I wanted Archie one, I wanted my main character to have living parents, and I
Hmm.
wanted them to be loving parents. I didn't want it to be some like, oh, he was miserable. Archie's number one motivator in this whole entire series is getting his dad back home and getting back to his mom and dad. That is his number one. And will he grow? Will he develop new goals and aspirations along the way? Sure, absolutely.
Of
But his
course.
core motivator is and will always be saving his dad and getting back home to his mom and getting his family back together. That will always
Yep.
be his key thing. And you've already kind of alluded to this. It's not George's reality, and so I get to
Hmm.
explore both sides of that.
Which is a very beautiful thing. Now, you'll know this forever, here, David.
Hmm.
Like I've said, I've already supported you. I will
Hmm.
continue to support you. I love of your books in so many ways. Um, but the reason why I do this, why I do my podcasts and I bring on authors is number one, this is about making sure that authors are seen, that their books are seen, that people find them. Because if they never have the opportunity to see this book, and mind you, ever since I I started sharing about Legend of Neverwhere, I have gotten so many comments from everybody saying, "I love that book. I absolutely love that book because it's beautiful." And
No.
mind you, there's other things about it that I love, and I will continue to promote it. But there is one thing that everyone should see, and David, you already know it.
Hmm.
Look at this art.
So
I mean, in goodness, guys, like David has spent a ton of money on this beautiful art, and I am a
it.
the only thing that I can honestly say that I would want in your next book, and this is just a request
Mhm.
from I'm a massive fan. I love maps. I absolutely love
Well,
maps.
so you're baiting me with with that ask. There will be a map in book two. Um, there absolutely will be. There will be two different versions. So don't worry, we will have mappage. Um, uh, and there will be about twice as much art in book two as there was book one. I've had the privilege of now being able to work with three very human, very real people
Very
um,
amazing people that are artists,
that
obviously.
that put in a ton of effort. I've already shouted out Aaron Moschner. DAT Publishing would not exist without Aaron Moschner. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
he's been a part of this literally from the very beginning. He has brought so many things to life. But as much as he has brought like the cover and the face of my books to life, Efosa Promise, he's bringing the soul of my work forward. He did the map painting or like the 2-page spread of Archie. He has done what is the banner image for my second campaign of them fighting the two-headed bird. And for those of you who are already on my pre-launch page, you will see he is putting together a giant manticore fight for book 3, and it
Yep.
is so much fun to be able to work with him. I have two other artists that I'm working with, like I said, as well, that do a lot more of the still work, like the one of that you showed there of Georgia. I've got one
Mhm.
of her with Thistleweed, which you'll meet in book 2. I love a good cat.
Yes.
Every witch needs a good cat.
Yep.
Um, I am working on getting one done. One of my other guys, he has the one of Archie with his hammer, which again, can we take 5 seconds and let me just I nerd out so much. And this hammer, guys, I have been wanting this hammer all of book 1, and I couldn't get it into book 1. And I apologize in advance, it takes a long time to get to it in book 2. But I set this, it's
Gosh.
one of the
Yeah.
first thing I set up. It's one of the first things I set up in book 2, is this hammer. And it was so much fun to write. It was so much fun to develop.
Hmm.
There's a unique, like, there's like it's overpowered. Like when we talk about OP level, so the nerf I put on it is really clever, and I think everybody will appreciate it. Because if not, he would just like crack Neverwhere in half and just go get his dad.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I love the Megaton
No,
hammer. Again, let's go back to Ocarina of Time. Like Megaton
yeah,
hammer, Skull hammer, the Wind Waker. Every Link needs a good hammer.
it's true. They absolutely do. So we know that in lit RPG, audiobooks are huge and massive, and that's how most of our readers, there's not all. We understand that
It is a
a
huge
lot of
portion
us
of
are physical,
me.
yes.
Me.
Yes, a large portion of us is are audiobook readers. So I know you probably have someone already in mind, but if you didn't already have somebody in mind, who would you want to be your audiobook reader
Okay,
if you had a
so
choice?
here's the thing. There, I feel like that's not fair because the guy I have is Kyle Raymond. He is amazing. He's actually already recorded the first probably 2/3 of Neverwhere 1. Um,
Hmm.
Plug for him. I picked him up last year. He was amazing. He passed through a council of peers. They loved his script. He then got picked up to be the VO for David, not me, David, the movie David, the animated movie for David.
Oh,
And so he had to take a
wow.
break from
Okay.
my work to do some work over there. And now he's back. And so now we're back in recording. We are delayed about a year. We're okay. We get it. We understand. Yes, I do. And I'll be honest with y'all, even in my traditional fantasy, I sell more audiobooks than I do physical copies. I sell ebooks and audiobook than physical. That's the order in which I sell.
It's true.
And that's totally fine with me. But he's fantastic. I love his narration style. If you go to Kickstarter 1, you can hear him narrating some of it. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can hear him. I have a clip of him narrating part of 1. But let me
Hmm.
say this. I hate to say the obvious answer, but I mean Jeff Hayes. Come on, I mean,
Yeah,
come on. Of
yeah.
course, everybody who writes lit RPGs, Travis Baldry and Jeff Hayes. If I could get both of them, I would. And again, I feel bad because Kyle's amazing, and he is going to be the voice of Neverwhere, like Jeff Hayes is the voice of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and Travis Baldry is the voice of
Hmm.
Cradle. Right? They will like.
Yes.
I believe in my world, he will be well, and just like Henry Kramer, son of Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, is the voice of
Yes.
Darius. When
Oh,
Darius speaks,
absolutely.
it is like the
Yeah.
way that he carries Darius. Which here's my little Darius back there. Um, the way that Henry is Darius, which by the way, just a little bit of a plug, that he is actively recording for Tales of Ethria right now. I've gotten one of the 3 stories back from him, so that is, and that Kickstarter is already funded. Like I expect to have
Mhm.
rewards out for that within a month of it being done. Like we're good,
Oh,
we're
that's
good
excellent.
like that.
Yeah, that's
But
excellent.
the way that those 2 artists are for their voice, Kyle would become the voice for the Archie Lawrence series. And let me tell you, Legend of Neverwhere is arc 1 of many.
That's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to it. So obviously, David, you see in the background, I am a massive stuffed animal fan.
Hmm.
Most
Hmm.
of my stuffed animals are book related. They will always be book related. And I will never ask you for a specific stuffed animal. That would just be wrong. However, if you, as an author, could create a stuffed animal that is made for your Legend of Neverwhere your series, what would you want it to be?
So I've got 2.
Okay.
First and foremost, I would love just like and I don't know where I would put it, but I would like a life-size stuffed animal of Brigandforth. How funny would that be? Just have this giant like pelican with the
Oh
goggles,
yes,
just like out there.
absolutely.
Just a
Oh, that's
massive
amazing.
thing. The second one, you've not met this character yet, but when you do, might become one of your favorite characters of all time.
Okay.
Name is Farish. Shout out to
Okay.
Jessica Johnson. She was one of my Epic Dungeon backers, and she got to create this character. And it is a sentient
Nice.
cosmic serpent ring that fuses with Georgia. And I would have loved to have like a little Farish plushie, like just a little plushie Farish. It
Okay.
is, he is, the way you meet him, he is hilarious. The way he interacts with Georgia is hilarious. Think like he's giving like hard Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. It's just it's so out. He's so disconnected with the rest of like Neverwhere, right? Because and again, spoiler, and also Neverwhere first arc. Remember that Farish is not from this
Hmm.
universe,
It's
and he
true.
will tie in with a different universe. That hey, can I say, because I've already announced book 3. Can I announce book three's
I
title here?
I will never have a problem sharing with fans. We're good with
So,
spoilers.
so book 3 is going to be called obviously Legend of Neverwhere and the Hero of Light, and arc
Oh,
2,
you just gave me jitters.
yeah, and
Sorry.
arc 2, which I can't give away too many spoilers, is going to be called
That's okay.
Star World, and I'll let you guys play around with that one.
Ooh. Oh, that
So
makes me
I'm
happy.
really excited for Star World. There might be mushrooms again. There might be stars. There might even be plants that are slightly on fire. So and a pipe. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, that makes me happy. So, going into one of your characters, and I will not name him because
Hmm.
that would just be wrong, but I have to say, your train conductor, he makes me laugh so much. And I absolutely hate him at the same time. I love him, but I hate him.
Well, you will meet his. You will spend all of book 2 is with his family. So just so you know.
Mm.
or his clan, however
Okay.
you want to call the Granis. Which the Granis, if you don't, I won't say too much, but to Wilkie's point,
Yeah.
Granis. Think about the little gnomes that you guys see on like shelves. Mix those with Yosemite Sam, and those are the Granis.
It's a it's absolutely amazing. And and they have,
And they have a nomenclature. They have a nomenclature
yeah.
thing that is quite humorous. That it definitely goes into the next book, and you may curse me for it because it gets wild.
I will see how it goes. I promise I will never completely curse you. Just know that I might dislike you for a day or so. Um, so we have about 5 minutes left.
Hmm.
And this has been
The live
wonderful.
on
Like
TikTok has about 2 minutes, just so you know. Just
yeah. Um, so that's why I say, so let's go over what books you're currently reading or what book you're currently reading and where we can find you and what events you have coming up.
so I'll go really quickly through those. So I am actually about to be hosting on IFA Con here in a couple of weeks, a lit RPG panel. So if you're welcome to come join us on Facebook, so come and see us.
Awesome.
I will be interviewing Tao Wong, Shami Soval,
Oh,
and
yay.
and and
Yay.
there's several others. There's several people. I'll run out of time if I go, but I'm currently reading all of their progression style fantasy books in preparation for it. I'm listening to New Rock New Roll, which is a lit RPG without numbers. It's like more like an MMO lit RPG without.
Hmm.
So that's been a lot of fun. Um, where can you find me? I'm on TikTok as David A Trotter 92. That was the year I was born. I'm on Instagram at That's Me, so DATZME16. That was my football number. Which, by the way, I was a buck 35. I played 1 year of football and I was a red hat. If you don't know what that means, look it up. I just had a lot of neck pains and I spent a lot of time looking up at the stars. So, and and then for upcoming events, I got a lot of them this year. So I will be at Huntsville Comic Con in April. I will be at Rebels and Realms in Northwest Arkansas in July. And I will be at FanX in September, at the end of September. And I just put my application in for Dragon Con in Alabama for the beginning of September. So really excited. This will be the busiest year I've ever had from a con perspective. I've only ever done one con a year with like a few local events. I plan on having 5 or 6 this year.
Nice. It's excellent. So so obviously we've ended at the TikTok live and that's okay. But for continuing this, just so you know, like no matter what, I will continually read this over and over and over. This is one of my books that I will end up ordering a physical, well, a regular copy of this that will end up on my shelf, and
Well,
this one
hold
will
up on
end up
that
in my
one.
treasure chest.
Well, hold on that one. So, another announcement. I am going to be recovering all of my books using Ephos's epic scenes. So I
Oh,
want a greater scale. So I do actually have a whole stack of these, and this is not all of them, but I do have a whole stack of the original cover of Legend of Neverwhere. If you want to get them on my website. I will not be ordering new ones because so once these are gone, these will go EOL, and
okay.
these will become locked away forever. I'm going to probably keep half a dozen of them for posterity's sake, but other than that, I will be recovering. The new covers are going to look sick. You will like them a lot. They are going to be epic, but I will miss that bright blue on my shelf.
Can appreciate that. Um, I will definitely be ordering that. Like, I need that as much as I love this. Like, I will never stop loving this.
It's heavy. It's a
I
dense boy.
Yes, yes, it is thick. It is dense. It is beautiful. I love it, but I need that other one. So I will definitely be ordering that. Um, thank you for everything with this. This has been an absolutely incredible little chat. Um, if if you're interested in lit RPG in any way, come and check me out. I'm continuing to interview weekly authors as often as I possibly can. Just to give a plug, like, for next week, I have, oh gosh, let me make sure that I've got his name right. CJ, this is gonna drive me crazy. There it is. Okay. If it will work for me, come on. And I swear, the one time that I do this. Okay.
That's the beauty of StreamYard. You can clip that right out.
I know. It's absolutely amazing. Um so CJ, oh gosh. And there it goes. We don't need my notifications. That's just rude. CJ Astria. He writes. Let me make sure I get this right, because he's amazing. He's a brand new author in lit RPG as well, but he writes. If I can find it. There we go. He writes. It's the series. He's Celestial Twins. And it's absolutely incredible. If you
check it
haven't,
out.
and yeah, if you haven't had the chance, it's to check it out. Sorry, I'm gonna just move my camera a bit so that I'm looking at y'all when I'm doing this. But I will be having him next week, next Sunday, at 5 p.m. instead of 4. But come out and check, because show your love. I'm going to do this as often as possible. And if you are a new lit RPG author, or author of any kind, please reach out to me. I want to make sure that you're found, that you're seen, and that your books are read and loved by this community. I will say this goes back to David in every single way. We are going to seriously miss you, that you're not going to be joining us at Lit RPG Con this summer.
I listen. I have got to get out there. I will hopefully be there next year. But the good thing is, when I go next year, I will have all 3 of my Legend of Neverwhere books with me, and maybe even the first book in Star World out.
That would be really cool. That will be
So
exciting.
we will see. We will see.
Yes,
I would
we
like
can hope.
to.
Otherwise, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you so much. You know how much it's I support you, David. This will
Absolutely.
never stop. So thank you all for joining us. This has been in Wilkie's World Wanderings.